Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a video. I think it should be relatively quick. Sometimes it's hard for me to gauge, but just want to do a summary of a lengthy discussion I had earlier with end times teachers, and it was what I expected. This is not a shot to him, but I did it to try and get a sense of what other people know. This is me kind of touching and feeling around my surroundings, and another person, who reads the Bible. To me, it's no different than golf. If I'm like working on my game and have it at a certain level, I want to have a match against somebody who also plays, and plays at a high level or claims to play at a high level. And so I was running my ideas past him, and I thought that it's edifying and encouraging for me that what I'm sharing is correct, even though obviously it's still to be determined, just based on our interaction, and the things that he said and some of the things that he didn't say, I just want to talk about that here. I would say two very, very important things came up in that discussion. The first is the topic of the elect, the 144,000, the apple of God's eye. And there is a verse, Revelation 14:5, that says, "And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God." And in other translation, it says, "In their mouth was found no lie." So they're not liars. And that seems like not really a big deal. Like, why is that such a big deal? But again, the world that we live in is filled with lies. And then it has to be filled with liars for there to be that many. And the key is that there are no lies. And so that's difficult impossible to assess who that is, because whatever they're saying, someone else needs to decide whether that's true or not, and that's a point that he made, and I agreed with, that it's an external party or entity that would need to decide that, and it's God. God is the one, obviously, ultimately, who decides that, though human can make that assessment at all. And so they are found blameless in the throne, before the throne of God by God himself. And so that's why no one should ever put themselves in that group, and so even if a person doesn't have lie or does lie, God can change that, immediately. And then the flip side is true. If a person is kind of going along a quote sincere path, and then they could go into all types of chaos and lies. And so all those, possibilities are out there. And so that's important, for us to know. But the thing that we have to, by common sense, anything that I share on my channel, if it doesn't happen the way that I'm saying it, then I was speaking lies, And so I may not even doing it for the wrong reasons, but I'm still lying, It's just, if a person sincerely believes that the earth is a spinning ball, but it ends up not being, they're still lying, And so that person cannot be of the elect, and myself included. If I am teaching what I'm teaching and then it ends up not being true, that doesn't mean, God of the Bible is not true. It just means I'm a liar. I have guile in my mouth. And so I'm not able to be of the elect. And so I want people to understand that what he's doing is defending vagueness, and so this is the problem with, and I was just watching a Ken Hovind debate on the end times as well. And he's like, oh, when we're saved, when I'm taken away and all this kind of stuff, the people who are saved are the elect. And again, they have no guile. And Ken Hovind is talking about, if there's four options, I'll pick the one that's most likely and I'll present them and then share them. And then he's got this timeline with like all these arrows and like stuff all over the place. He talks about a post-tribulation rapture, which technically is true, but he doesn't understand what that means. He doesn't know that it's the elect, that are taken away, and they have to have no guile in their mouth. So they can't be presenting four options and this is the best one. The Bible says that the testimony of Jesus Christ is a spirit of prophecy in the end times. And so these Wikipedia prophets, which I would say GMS and End Times is a product of that camp, that group, that alphabet soup, they don't know what's happening in the end times. They're just reading the news clippings and saying, oh, look at this, and then they're waiting for some war to kick off, and then that kind of thing. They don't have a consistent narrative and interpretation. He didn't have any idea about Revelation 11, and that is the core, the absolute core of the book of Revelation. And so I definitely put myself out there, and that I could be wrong, and like I said, my wrongness will be assessed soon, in this year, and I would say the first half of this year. I don't plan on teaching after that, because I said that America will be destroyed by the end of 2023. And so there still has to be 3.5 years of a great tribulation before that can happen. And so I have to stand by that, and I don't regret it, because that's just what I said, and so if that was not God speaking through me then and now, then I got to find another career, and that's just what it is. I have no issues with that at all. That is, I didn't say that in guile, in the past. I believed it then, and I believe what I've been sharing now. But the only way that what I believe is possible to happen in that time frame is that the elect need to be raptured soon, and so it doesn't mean that I'm in it. It just means that that event needs to happen. And then the Great Tribulation can begin, and then America will be destroyed according to what I said. And so I can't go back on this, and just, oh, whatever, I wasn't serious, it wasn't literal and all that. A prophet is being used by God to speak through them. And Tahar has failed on his 2000 prophecy because God was not speaking through him. Now that he's teaching the mark of the beast, which is mainstream news, he's still a ball earther. So God is reminding us, letting us know he's continuing to be a false prophet. And so the thing that was scary was Carlos Pagan, who is a known ball earth troll, was in the chat saying that, can the elect not adopt ball earth? And I didn't notice this fully, but I noticed later that End Times said yes. And so he's aligning himself with Carlos Pagan, but he didn't bother to ask. And I only answered Carlos Pagan because he said, can I be of the elect being a ball earther? He put it as himself, and I know who he is. And so I answered that question for him specifically, that no, he can't, because we know anybody who's in these flat earth, ball earth debates and there's a video on my channel of him threatening to kill all flat earthers. I don't know if End Times teachers saw it, but this is why End Times teachers we know is completely lost. And again, he may come to his senses, but it doesn't look like it. I talked to him 5 months ago, same story, come to him now. He doesn't care. He just doesn't get the basics. And he was defending a person who threatened to kill all flat earthers. That's God's children. Yeah. And I encourage both End Times teachers to go, and Carlos to revisit that, and I have a video of it on my channel. And so no one would say that, no quote godly person would say that, no matter what, much less the fact that that group that you would be killing could even be Christ himself, because Christ is a flat earther. He made a flat stationary earth. And so we see what's going on here, like End Times teachers is aligning himself with Carlos Pagan, and Carlos Pagan is aligning himself with trannies and homosexuals, and saying God loves you, but he wants to kill all of us, flat earthers. And government shills and all that. So they're all on the same team. And so End Times aligns with Carlos, who aligns with government shills. End Times aligns with Tahar, who's a Mason, and like God's left-hand side. And so he's lobbying, End Times teacher is lobbying for Carlos potentially to be the elect, which obviously anybody who knows even a tenth of what Carlos does on a day-to-day basis, he attacks and ridicules flat earthers when the earth is flat and stationary. So he's antichrist. He's against the Bible. He's mocking the Bible. He's mocking Christ, who made a flat stationary earth. And so he's aligning with him. And it's the same with Tahar. Tahar makes fun of flat earthers when his doctrine is just garbage. Like End Times teacher had no idea about Revelation 11. He just had no clue. And again, I don't know if I'm right. It has to happen, the way that I'm presenting. So I could be wrong as well. I put that out there. That means there could be guile in my mouth. And not only is there guile in my mouth, I wouldn't be the elect. I wouldn't even be a Christian. I'd just be like talking gibberish. So after that, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be pushing the Bible. I'm not going to be against the Bible, but my story has been expressed. My quote prophecy, God using me as a mouthpiece, is over at that point, and I put the time limit on myself. I hope that God was working through me, but if he wasn't, it's not his fault. I said it. And so I don't just go and change my story. Oh, I add another year. No, I meant 2 years. I meant 7 years. I meant, oh no, I meant 2053. I can't say stuff like that. And I said exactly what I believe. And I'm not a Wikipedia prophet, like Tahar and End Times Teachers and these people. I go by the Bible and what I am experiencing, in my life and what I see around me. And most notably, what I see happening with the poor. And so that's a solid position to be in. I'm comfortable with it. But, as of now, there's no guile in my mouth, but the clock is ticking, and I'm fine with that. I don't want to be here right now. And so much less a year or 2 years or 3 years down the road. Absolutely not. And so this place is antichrist. And just by this interaction, I'm thankful for these more and more now. I want more of them, actually. I want more interactions with religious people who are just completely out of their mind. Like they just have no idea what's going on. And defending shills, like End Times Teacher was, Carlos Pagan, defending him. He doesn't even know that his name is Carlos Pagan. He's Mr. Gadget in the chat. And again, Mr. Gadget MG is 3333 or 666. So, and Carlos Pagan. So again, I don't know. These people could refuse the mark of the beast and be on the right-hand side. Fair enough. But they can't be God's elect because there's guile in their mouth, And so it's not even that they need to know what the shape of the earth is, but you're not allowed to go and ridicule anybody who's pursuing truth, even if we were wrong as flat earthers, which we're not. And so that's why Tahar and Carlos Pagan are Satanists, and then End Times Teacher is supporting that because he is as well. And so that's what's going on. And then it's scary. The thing that's crazy about the world right now is these people are trying to put their name in the hat to be the elect. And I put a video on salvation. It's very clear who the elect are. It's a very, very niche group. First of all, they have no guile. And so to me, that means they'd have to be like off the radar. And then many of them will be poor. And the Bible says explicitly they'll be blind, lame, and all that, and that's just obvious now more than ever. But, they're not going to be there. I'm sure there will be a few who are well off for sure, but a majority, the main thrust of the group is people of a low, meek status, and they're not going to be like 500,000 subs on YouTube or anything like that. It's not Ken Hovind, who I'm just watching this debate. He thinks that the end times is centered in Israel and like the Muslims are going to come up and there's going to be an antichrist forming out of the Muslims and stuff. I believe Islam is just like, I know Nation of Islam is just an offshoot of the Catholic Church. They're just all Masons. And so Christianity is a kind of a form of Freemasonry, much less as if something popping out of that is going to fight against that. So they're all actors, all of them. And so I personally am encouraged when I see that people are like that far off of what's common sense, that the Bible has to be really, really true and it's going to express itself soon, or it's just a complete joke, and it's like either way, it's going to get figured out quickly. And that's exciting. And so that's important to know. Anybody who wants to, quote, be saved, according to the Bible, they have to have no guile in their mouth. And so it doesn't mean that you know everything. In fact, it means that you talk less, just because the Bible also says this in many places. It's better to say less and not put yourself out there. And so if I end up being wrong, it probably would have been better for me to just not teach the Bible, and just be a regular everyday person and try and do the best that I can to help people. But I don't regret it, because it's been an invaluable time for me to go in and dig into the Bible and know about things, and present an actual prophecy, an actual sequence, not just, I don't know, like End Times is like, yeah, I don't know, it could go this way, it could go that way. Ken Hovind's like, yeah, I'll give you 4 options. You pick, I'll tell you the one that I think is most. This is not a probability contest. This is God speaking through people. And if it's either he is or he's not. And it's proven with Tahar that he's not, but End Times still wants to piggyback that theology. So God's not speaking through him either. And then Carlos Pagan wants to put his name in the hat to be the elect, as if it's too stressful for Jesus Christ to give his elect the truth. Like it's just too complicated. Like, no, it's like, I'll give it to all these people, but Carlos, it's too much effort. I don't want to tell him about the deception. No, it's like in a corporation, if you have a CEO, the people around him, he's not going to put people who lie to him. Like that's why, yeah, I'm going to, my 5 or 10 inner circle, my CFO, my chief marketing officer and all that. I'm going to just put some liars around me, just to make sure everything's good. So that does not even happen in this beast system, much less with the truther of all truthers ever, Jesus Christ, who is the truth, the embodiment of truth. What do you mean he's not going to put 144,000 people around him that tell him the absolute truth? And when they project out to the world, that's all they're capable of, because they hate lies, whether they've been conditioned that way or God programmed that way from the beginning because they're just righteous. Either way, that's as if that's too much trouble, And so this is the buffoonery that's going on. And end times is more scholarly than a majority of people on earth about the Bible. And so this is why the Bible is about to just be completely destroyed, by truthers, because they're just out of their mind. So that's something to keep in mind. Just, it doesn't make sense. And so he was speaking in the chat out of his desire actually to defend Tahar and other Satanists, but he didn't realize that crept in unaware was Carlos Pagan and all his baggage of government shills, homos, and trannies that he's defending before us. I have a video on my channel where I asked him, if you had infinite resources, what would you do? He wouldn't, fix the world, cure poverty. He said, I want to kill flat earthers, and so that's the group that I want people to understand. Just don't take them seriously. If they come to their senses, fine, good for them. That's great. That's a blessing and a miracle from God and an act of God. And then they'll be, quote, on our team, hopefully. But we don't have to even take these people seriously. They're just out of their mind. And so another thing that he said that was probably even more satanic was, we were talking about the poor. And again, I keep pushing this because, first of all, it's obvious from beginning to end of the Bible. If it was just, again, a little bit, I wouldn't say it as much, but it's from literally beginning to end. It's not a joke, even though the world thinks the Bible is a joke and the God of it is a joke. But the Bible says that the salvation of God's people will be focused around people who are poor and in broken condition. And so End Time said, he made some major concession. Like, yeah, we teach that and all that kind of stuff. Barely, if ever. I haven't seen anything, but no specific verses like I've done in my Jeremiah video, in my salvation video. And, I would highly recommend people watch that. And that's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to go down for a lot of people in a broken condition. And so then he's like, even people who haven't done, works or whatever is a blasphemous statement against the poor, as if what they're doing, prophesying on the streets, barking like dogs to random people, as if that is a big sacrifice, that's, oh man, that's, wow, that's pretty amazing. Living on the streets, not being cared for by anyone, that's easy. That's not a big deal, And then that's a tough role for anybody who God needs the poor to fulfill Bible prophecy. I'm sorry. All of us are actors and characters. God needs the poor. Not many people are going to volunteer, to have sores on their face and get licked by dogs and stuff like that. These people in their position are sacrificing themselves because they're creating an environment. Again, end times teacher, these people don't even care. I'm just saying this for the sake of learning to avoid these people. No, not many people are going to be first in line to do that, but to go and once a week just bark like a dog in a parking lot somewhere where no one's even around, who cares? Talk about stuff that's not even true because they don't even have a timeline for the end times or anything. They're not sharing anything. They're just reading stuff from Wikipedia, CNN, and Fox News, and then claiming that they're prophets. It's easy to be a prophet when the answer is just right in front of you, And so if Tahar's prophecy did come true in 2000, that's a real prophet. He said that the days are going to be cut short all the way to 2000. So all the mark of the beast and all these other things were going to get taken away. And then that would have been some serious stuff. It's like, damn, the days were cut short. All these other prophecies were taken away. And Tahar said it and then it happened. That's a real prophet. If it happened, obviously it didn't. And then now he's just talking about a bunch of nonsense. Like the three woes are World War I and World War II, which they're obviously not. And so, again, I would say this is an exaggeration. It should be obvious that these people are completely out of their mind, blaspheming the poor, defending government shills and Satanists, but not quick to uphold truth. And the Bible says that the people closest to Jesus Christ, again, are going to have no guile in their mouth and they're going to stand stiffly for God. And so these people don't care. They just, whatever doctrine, it's okay, And so whatever trash, just bring it in the temple, it's fine. And then that is, I'm warning people, friendly warning as of now, if anybody, again, reads any part of the Bible, and especially the Old Testament, that is not the way it works. Absolutely not. An animal that is needed to be unblemished comes in blemished and sacrificed, that person, potentially their whole family, gets killed. And so if a person understands reincarnation, then he's not going to be friendly with them again. He's not going to give them a promotion. And so these people are lost. They're just out of their mind. Carlos doesn't even read the Bible, and end times teacher, I don't know, he just doesn't understand things. It's just basic stuff. And so they have guile in their mouth. They're blaspheming the poor and claiming that the poor don't have works, as if they're doing something really special. And again, I just say this now in a friendly way. If it happens, and I have confidence that it will, God's going to show everybody, literally, visually, who he cares about, and it's going to be a surprise, certainly to these people. And so if anybody is going to take a safe position in the Bible, aside with the sinners and with the poor, that is just the right answer. That's just the right answer all the time. It's for GMS, the right answer is the so-called white man and Esau and in America. Any place that you don't know, just say that's America. Anybody that's evil, just say it's Esau, so-called white man. But I'm telling you, a better and smarter and more correct stance is always take the side of sinners and always align with the poor, And so if you just imagine in front of us, if we have a group of people, you have a Ken Hovind over here, you have Pastor Anderson over here, Tahar, all these alphabet soup Israelites, and then you have the poor over here. And God is like coming, and you wanted to find a, quote, safe place, go to the poor. I'm just telling you, go to the poor. That is the only safe place you're going to be. These other people, God hates them and they hate God. And so that's what it is, and that's outlandish to the world, that, quote, home base, the safe place will be amongst the blind, the poor, and the lame and all that. But I'm telling people, I say this with 100% confidence. This is not a prophecy. This is a fact of the Bible. If the God of the Bible is true, that his heart and mind is focused on the poor. And so that's why we're living in these days, not just because of the buffoonery that we see on these hangouts. These people are just they don't have a clue what's going on. Pastor Anderson thinks that he's one of the 24 elders, potentially. Carlos Pagan wants to be the elect, even though he's ridiculing truth every day and just mocking God. End times teachers thinks that he's one of the 144,000, but he's defending Satanists, with every breath and every keyboard strike. It's just nonsense. The Bible is very, very close to just be a complete joke, and I would say this is all by design, so God can reveal to the entire world who he really cares about, and I warn people, if you haven't read this in the Bible, you should, and it should be obvious, and I'll remind people as much as I can. God's heart and mind is aligned with the poor, even if that's an outlandish claim to this world right now. This world is completely stupid. I have proof of it, of a hangout earlier today. This world is completely brain dead if the Bible is true, because it is the standard. With the Bible then is now the standard and the authority, and then everybody else that has their hands in it are mentally retarded, and then the people who think that it's just a fairy tale and don't care are also retarded. And so this is, again, only on the premise that the Bible is true, but if it is and we have more confidence in it because of flat stationary earth, know that God's Spirit is not dwelling amongst these people who are blaspheming the poor. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.